Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Alexandra and Friends. Today, the last Saturday of March. Wow, good morning. Thank you so much for letting us come into your home, to your office, or to your phone. We are Alexandra and Friends, and today is the last Saturday of the month, as we usually have the first and the last Saturday. We're honored to be at the Purple Cup Branding Studio at the meeting place, and we have an exciting show, so we're going to move forward a little bit fast so we can have time for our guest to give us all the information she has in her little mind. And thank you so very much. Good morning, Miss.
Good morning. Look at these beautiful ladies.
How are you?
Good morning, my friends.
Marshall, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, Marshall. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's glad to be
Miss
back.
Elena, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so
Shabbat
much.
shalom.
Shabbat
Yes,
shalom.
it's
Good
great.
morning. Good morning.
Beautiful day.
Well, we're going to start. We're going to move a little fast because we do have we have a full house this morning.
Yes,
and we're
it's
so excited. It's so
wonderful.
wonderful. And thank you so much for having our. Thank you for Rob Bliss is not here this morning, but thank you again for letting us use the studio here. He's sponsoring our show, and we're so excited. So we'd love for you to be here in person. We have coffee, donuts,
Yeah.
and we are looking for more people to sponsor our show. So we are excited to see a full house this morning. So thank you.
Love it.
Very much. So we're going to start our show very quickly because I want to make sure that we have time to listen to what our guest is. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest this morning because she's exciting. I've kind of met her from some of her events that she's had at Purple Cup Branding at the meeting place. Her name is Kellye Kamp. Miss Kellye Kamp, founder and CEO of SourceKamp, and that's Camp, K-A-M-P, not Camp. It's AI for all. And I want to tell you, Kellye, it's not my favorite subject, okay?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh.
You just set the bench.
That
'Cause
part.
I don't know what it is,
Right.
okay? So good morning, Miss Kellye. How are you? Thank you
I'm
so much for
great.
taking your time of being here this morning. You've got a good audience, and they all came because of AI, not because of Alexandra and Friends. They came because of AI. So it's
Wonderful.
Alexandra and I. That's what I call it. Good morning, Kellye. Thank you. We have a wonderful, wonderful group of people here today. Some of them came to see us. Some came to see Kellye. So we're excited about that. Miss Elena, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing wonderful.
So tell us a little bit of what's going on. How is the kiddos?
Oh, they're great. We just finished spring break, and so it's always nice to have a break in the middle of the semester and got
Yes.
to spend time with our kids. And no, things are just wonderful. It's springtime.
Thank goodness, yes. I want to thank our producers today, especially G, who makes everything possible for us in
Thanks,
this building.
G.
Without G, I don't know what we would do. And thank you so very much. And we've got Andy. He's an
Hi,
intern.
Andy. Thanks, Andy.
Producing our show today. And we're excited because the interns are actually produce our shows here. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
We
And
believe
are
in
very
young
how it
people,
works.
training up young people.
That's right.
Absolutely,
Train 'em up.
absolutely. So we're turning them into the AI center,
Right.
This is
Let's
her-
do it.
Well, let's just go ahead and get started with
Okay.
Kellye because she has so much to say.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited
Yes.
too.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
So Kellye, please come on board and tell us who you are, what you're doing here today, and why you're here.
Well, again, my name is Kellye Kamp. My company is SourceKamp, AI for all, and it really does mean for all. And it's such an exciting time for me to just be alive and learning all of this new technology that is at our fingertips now. And
Yes.
it's unlike anything that we've ever experienced before. It's not like technology of even 5 years ago where you paid a lot of money for this software, you had to read a huge manual to learn it, and it was overwhelming and intimidating, and you had to be very technical to understand it. This is a whole new world. So today we'll be talking a lot about mind shift because it really is a different mind shift, not just a different software.
I love that.
Wow.
Me
And
too.
so a little short time that I've gotten to know Kellye, she is a serial entrepreneur. And I just love that term and how you're, that's one of the things that described of you and having 10 plus startups. And you really have the foresight of seeing trends ahead of its time. And when people go, AI, what? You already familiarized yourself with that and then started helping businesses with it. And so, of course, we're all curious about what AI, artificial intelligence, is all about. But for someone that you have helped so many businesses with adoption of the technology, what's the first thing you would help them implement into their businesses and to help them maximize that potential?
Sure. Well, the one thing I always say is you never start with the technology, right?
Okay.
You never start with the AI. It
Okay.
really is about solving problems. Humanity doesn't change,
Okay.
right? And the technology is just a tool. So when it comes to working with businesses, we really do need to find out what the pain points are,
Okay.
how they can be more effective, how they can either generate more income or reduce their costs of running a business.
Okay.
So that's where you always have to start with any business situation.
Interesting.
Then, as we figure out what the needs are, then we can start to move into how can this technology help us achieve those goals.
That's good. Thank you.
Very interesting. I'm reading that you have 4,000 hours of
do.
experience in generative AI.
I do.
Is that classes you take, or is that a volume of understanding that you have? Tell me a little bit about what that means. To me, as a business owner, you're bringing all that experience to us, right?
Correct.
So would that also include a person at home, like a mother and a father?
Of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Interesting.
Absolutely. So one of the things in that 4,000 hours, I've actually been documenting how much time I've been investing into learning this tool because I just like to know, right? I'm a very curious person. I want to track things like that. So I have kept track of most of the time that I've spent in teaching it, learning it, utilizing it, consulting businesses with it. And I'm very proud to say I'm part of a very larger group of AI enthusiasts around the world. We actually started meeting online 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. And in the beginning, for the first 13 months, we were meeting 7 nights a week for
my
2.5 hours.
Wow.
Just learning together. So that's one of the first things I would say is find a community to learn with because this technology can do so many different things and it can be very overwhelming to just learn on your own. So I would highly encourage people to find some kind of community, whether it's online or local, and find other people to learn with because one, it's just more fun. And two, it takes the pressure off of, oh my gosh, I've really got to learn all of this right now and I'm already behind and
Right.
I'll never catch up. We're all in the same boat. That's the
right.
beauty of it. We're all still learning. And I still say I am not an expert at any of this because it is changing so quickly and so rapidly and improving so much every day that nobody can really be an expert at this point. Now, I do have experience, right? Experience counts, but I would
that's
never
right.
say I'm an expert.
An expert.
So the team that comes together that you bring and you get online or you have a meeting with, my question is, how do you outlet the challenges of what it takes a reference to knowing which one who may know more what's going on actively this present time since the technology is moving so quickly?
It is.
So how do you guys determine of how to making sure that everybody stays on one accord?
Well, sometimes that is a big challenge.
Okay, thank you.
because the generative AI, and I want to say generative first, and we'll maybe circle back to what that actually means. But we focus on generative AI, even though AI as a whole has been around for decades, right? There are actually 3 different kinds of, and making sure that I circle back and answer your specific question.
Okay.
But there are 3 kinds of AI right now. There's a lot, but the 3 main ones are robotic AI, which we're
Okay.
all familiar with, right? The robots that are a little scary and humanoid and kind of creep us out a little bit. That's robotic AI. This has nothing to do with generative AI. Then there's machine learning, and machine learning has been around for probably about 40, creeping up on 50 years now.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That is what, for example, that's what is behind your banking system when you get your online statements every month.
Okay.
Machine learning is behind the scenes, and they're the ones that are calculating all of those numbers and creating your statements and getting them out to you, right? That's machine learning. So that's been around forever. It's in all of our lives and has been for a long, long time, just it's not so obvious. Generative AI, which has only been out for a couple of years, is completely new. It means it's generating something new every
Got
time
you.
you use it.
Okay.
So a chat GPT means generative pre-trained transformer. And the key word there is generative. So a lot of people say, well, what if it steals my data, or what if it
Right.
can go find my invoice that I created for a business? Well, it's generative, so it doesn't even really know how to copy and paste, right? So if you create a piece of, now this is changing quickly too, as far as being able to keep consistency in what you create. But I'm going to use art for an example. Up until literally yesterday, and this is again how fast this is changing. If you created a piece of art with, say, ChatGPT, and you said, I want to keep the same exact character, I only want to change this one little part of the art, it literally couldn't do that. It would have to regenerate a completely new piece of art every time.
Okay.
Okay. As of yesterday, we now have a feature where we can retain a character and just change certain features of that piece of art. That does not mean that translates to data.
Okay.
Okay. So it is still very difficult for somebody to go find your specific data unless you have put it on the internet itself.
Okay, so I'm glad that you used art as an example of AI, because there's such a fine line, and I wanted to get your input into the legal ramification of that, because I know Canva is a very popular app most people are using for arts, for graphics.
Absolutely.
And so can you share what's the fine line between using it as a logo and the design? And you can't quite own that copyright of the design because it's AI generated. And so can you share some of that with us?
I would love to, because again, I hear this a lot, right? Like it's AI generated, so it's not really art, or I can't copyright it.
Right.
But it's just like anything else. If I take a photograph, do I have to give credit to the camera,
Oh, okay.
right?
Right.
I'm still the artist.
Right.
I'm still the one generating that photograph. So it wouldn't even occur to me to give Kodak or Sony or
Right.
somebody or Nikon the credit for taking that photo,
Okay.
because I'm generating it. So in the same way, it still takes a human to generate that art.
Okay.
And copyright is a big issue right now. It's still ongoing. There have been a few laws passed about it, but it's just like if I were in college and I were studying Shakespeare or Hemingway, if I've done that for 4 years, the flavor of my writing may reflect some of that, but that doesn't mean I'm stealing, right? I still have to change a certain percentage of that copy
Right.
for it to be mine.
Right.
And we're handling art the same way.
Okay.
So if you change a certain percentage of the art that generative AI has created for you, then it becomes yours and it's copyrightable at that point.
Okay.
But if you just type in a simple prompt and you go and take the very first thing it's generated and you try to sell that, you're probably going to get a slap on the wrist for that.
You're listening to Alexandra and Friends at the Purple Cow Branding Studio at the Meeting Place. Please find us on Facebook on Alexandra and Friends, on YouTube, and on alexandraandfriends.com. Please subscribe to her. Give us a little bit of enthusiasm and tell us you like our podcast. And we're in our 5th year going in this month, and we're so
Wow.
excited. And I got to go by 660 The Answer this week and started crying because I kept saying, no, I left the radio station. Should I come back? No, we're in the greatest place in the world. Thank you so much for watching us this morning. We have an amazing Kellye Kamp who's talking a little bit about way beyond my language of AI because I started in the encyclopedia. So, people don't even know what the encyclopedia is anymore. So, Kellye, thank you so much for sharing this with us. We've got a lot of young people. I also noticed that, and I did a little study on you. So AI, for homeowner, for just a typical general
much.
person, just me, let's say, how would I use AI in my home?
So many ways. So my mother is 88 years old, and I have drug her on this journey with me as I've
Oh
been
my
learning.
gosh!
Wow.
Oh my gosh!
And so she is quite fluent. She literally cannot get through her day without using it multiple times.
Interesting.
And it is keeping her relevant. It's keeping her
yes, I'm
very
sure.
independent.
Yes.
And she can get questions and answers to questions immediately. So, for example, my father is 91. He's got Alzheimer's. We decided to get a landline for him because using a mobile phone was getting difficult. And so she called the company and said, "Can you come put in a landline for me?" And they said, "Yes, it'll be $100 for us to come out." And she went, "I can figure this out on my own." So she went to ChatGPT. She took a picture of her phone and the equipment and the jack, and it gave her step-by-step instructions about how to set up
Oh.
My
her own
goodness.
landline.
Oh, wow.
So sorry to any of the telecom companies out there,
Uh-oh.
but you know, she didn't have to wait for a few weeks for a technician to make an appointment and to come out and then sit there all day and wait. She just did it in an instant and saved herself some money. She also uses it to prepare her meals or recipe ideas. There's a great, if you're just starting out and you have ChatGPT downloaded on your phone, most people don't know that it will analyze photos for you as well. So one of my favorite first steps is to go home, open up ChatGPT if you've downloaded on your phone, open up your refrigerator, take a photo of the contents,
Okay.
Wow.
and ask it what's for dinner.
Oh my gosh. I
And it
cannot
will
believe
read
this.
it will read everything that it can see clearly.
And to
It
tell you
will
what to make.
it will read your ingredients and it will come up with a
Oh my
recipe for you.
gosh.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Welcome to the
so
21st
I'm
That's
century.
right.
on this because this
Yes.
is so good. So tell me, you've given us all this great information. What do you feel about how it's going to come in and just take over in the next couple of years? What do you think this is going to be?
I think again, it's a mind shift, right?
Mm.
It's just still a tool at the end of the day. It's not able to do anything we don't tell
Yeah.
it to do.
Yeah.
So that's the first mind shift. But all of those tedious tasks that we just dread doing every day, like I've got to make an appointment for a technician and I've got to sit at home for several hours, or oh my gosh, I've got to come up with yet another meal for my family. All of those tedious tasks, it can actually start to do for us.
That's good.
Scary.
That's good.
Question I have, what is this going to do for young students that are going to school? Will this replace a lot of, I've got a test tomorrow, give me the answers, all this? I want to move to that direction.
Yes.
What's going to happen? So our young people do not have to think or study. They can just go, oops, we're going to have a test tomorrow. So, you know, I had to go into the books and look, and I had to find out who was this. So what is that going to do for our youth?
I love this question. Thank you so much for asking.
Scares me.
Hopefully, I can change your mind.
Okay.
Okay.
So, teachers say, my students are going to cheat, right? And kids are going to try to cheat. That's just human nature.
Yeah.
But if you've had the same students for a whole semester now, and Johnny is kind of a C minus D student, and suddenly he's writing A plus papers, hopefully we have enough discernment to go, something's
Exactly.
going on, right? So it
Right.
doesn't take a lot to go, that's not really
Right.
Johnny's writing. But I do have a friend who's a teacher in Fort Worth, and he's at a school that has a lot of disadvantaged children, and he's such an amazing teacher, and he has really embraced generative AI as well. And this is one of my favorite stories. So he's teaching architecture to these students who most of them have never even been out of their neighborhood. But what he does is and a lot of them don't speak English as a first language. So he says, I want you to think in your mind, you're going to be able to design any building that you want. I want you to really think about what it looks like and write down a description of it. He then has them put that into ChatGPT or another large language model.
Okay.
That's their prompt, basically.
Okay.
Well, what comes out as the piece of art of their building never looks like what they had in their mind
Wow.
because they weren't descriptive enough.
Okay. Okay.
So you've got to be really descriptive about what you want.
Okay.
So now he says, go back and rewrite that prompt again or that description of your building and let's try it again. So they go through this iteration multiple times, but they're also practicing writing. They're practicing learning detail.
Yes.
They're learning to ask for what they want,
Yes. Yes.
which is critical.
right.
So they're using a lot of cognitive skills, even though that's not, you're going to learn cognitive skills today. Then once they get their prompt well and they're getting really good output, then and most of them have written their prompt in Spanish or another language. He says, now I want you to upload that into ChatGPT and translate it into English.
Okay.
their own words.
Okay.
So many times they'll say, "Oh, I didn't know that was the English word for this word." So now they're getting a vocabulary lesson.
Okay.
But it's all sort of wrapped up in this, we're just going to create a really cool building today, right?
Yeah.
Then they can say, okay, I need to know how to engineer this building and how much weight can this pier hold.
Right.
They can ask ChatGPT and it will help them figure out that information.
I love that.
So
It's a
they're
good
learning
tool.
multiple lessons, and they're not cheating by using generative AI.
Right.
It's just helping them get to an answer a little faster, but you still have to work. You still have to think.
Right. Well, I love that you say it's a tool
It is a
to
tool.
help you, and what you described reminds me of kids learning robotics because they have to put the input instructions into the robotic programming and then the output, and then there's trial and error, and then they have to change the input again, and so that reminds me of that. But I love how you we're talking about customizing the learning experience because I know that some students would use generative AI to design flashcards for them for studying.
Correct.
And so they can customize the program to, okay, now I have retained this knowledge and information, and then help them with progressing in their learning experience. So there's a lot of good in using it as a tool rather than being afraid of it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the most exciting thing for education, because how many kids out of a class of 30 are all going to be at the same learning level or even learn the same way?
The same level.
And so now teachers can go in and actually customize a lesson for every child. And it
good.
doesn't
On their
take
standpoint.
days and
Oh,
weeks to do
got
it,
you.
right?
So now let's go back a little bit. So we're talking about the youth. What about the seniors? Let's move to the senior side, where in the 60s and 70s that are, and you find that a lot of people are maybe in the 40s and 50s that really did not learn very much about the social system, and now they're trying to catch up. So from what I gather, if a youth can, they can probably have a better time at learning or being able to use this program than just trying to learn from scratch. Is that what you're saying?
You know, I love talking about the seniors because I've already used my mother as an example of somebody who's
Oh, that's
using
great.
it, and it is improving her life so much. It's making things easier for her.
That's great.
It's keeping her relevant and up to date. She can find information very quickly without being dependent on somebody else to bring it to her.
That's awesome.
So and here's a really interesting, I don't know if this is a statistic, but as far as all of the people that I know and have talked to, and even in my own personal AI group, this global group, there's probably 40 to 60 of us that meet daily. And we have another group outside of that. It's grown to about 1,700 now.
Wow.
I would say at least 75 or 80% of them are Gen X or baby boomers.
Oh, absolutely. I
Interesting.
can believe that.
Because I
Yes.
think the younger people, because the last few years,
Yes.
education has said, don't use this or I'm going to fail you because I don't want you to cheat. So now they're afraid to use the technology. So that's one thing. But also, I think the older generations understand how big a change this is because we've
Yes.
seen technological changes
Yes.
that the youth have not necessarily gone through.
That's right.
And so it is, I love that people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and even 80s are the ones who are embracing this technology the most, which again, as the workplace is changing and forcing some of us
Yes.
out into early retirement, 60 is different these days.
Yes, it is.
We're just
different.
Yeah,
That's
yes, it
right.
is.
We're just getting started. We've
Yes,
just
it
figured
is.
it
Getting
out.
started.
Life's
Yeah.
just beginning.
That's right. And so that's what I love about this technology too,
Yeah.
is it says, oh my gosh, there are so many opportunities for older generations, and we're not reliant on going and getting a job to make us relevant and to allow us to give back to society. There are so many jobs that are going to come from this new technology.
Okay.
Oh,
Just
wonderful.
Like, just
That's
like
good to
before
hear.
the internet or social media.
Right.
Think of all of the jobs and positions that have come from
Yes.
social media, social
Yes.
influencers.
Yes.
We didn't know what that was 10
Okay.
years
That's
ago.
right.
Okay, we are social influencers.
That's
right there.
right.
Don't forget that.
That's
That's right. That's
It's
wonderful.
very encouraging to hear
Very
what you just
encouraging.
It
I'm
should
glad to
be.
hear
Yes,
that.
It should
it's
be.
a
Yes, they're
whole
not gonna
different
take
level
away.
what I expected. This is
Yeah.
really good because I see your company, Source Camp, offer business personalized consulting, and you do workshops. In your workshops, do you have all type of ages in the workshops, or
I
you know,
do.
the Generation
All
Z?
ages.
We can come over.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we can come and get
Very diverse.
very
It is
diverse.
very
Okay,
diverse.
wonderful,
And again,
wonderful.
I have people who have never even heard of ChatGPT. I have
Yes.
people who are very technical and experienced. So I'm used to working with a wide range of knowledge
Good.
about
Okay.
this tool. And again, it's simple, but it's almost like learning a new language, right? You can learn a
good.
few vocabulary words or you can get fluent, and everyone's kind of on a different level. But that's what I love about this is it really is AI for all. And it's all about you meeting the technology where you're at.
That's good. That's good because you know, as we can see, it has taken the place, and it's got its own ride, and it's taken over. So we got to jump on.
Got to jump
Yep.
on the train. Yes.
That's right.
We got to
Yes.
jump on.
So would you say you recommend that we take classes that we can become involved? What about, have you started talking to the senior centers where there's older people?
Oh, that's
Have you
good.
just
Senior
I
started to
citizens,
get
have.
that's
together?
I've done a few already, and in fact, I was
Wonderful.
just asked this last week to come speak to the senior citizens at a church
Yes.
because they're just curious, and that's the number one trait you have to
Yes.
have. You don't have to be technical; you just have to be curious. That's the number one thing. And so, all of you out there who are
Yes.
curious-minded and you're lifelong learners, you're going to love this if you'll jump in and just start to play. And that's another thing that's a little different is we really encourage people to just play. Don't take it so seriously.
Okay.
Go take a picture of the inside of your refrigerator, right? Start
Okay.
with that.
Okay. That's awesome.
So, other than ChatGPT, is there any other apps that are popular, and how are they
Lots.
different?
Lots. So large language models is sort of the umbrella that a lot of these programs are under. So there's ChatGPT, Microsoft has Copilot,
Okay.
Google has Gemini.
Okay.
There's one called Perplexity that is more of a research tool. Claude is actually a very good writer if you're writing documents. So there are lots out there. You just sort of have to find the tool that fits you the best. You normally default to ChatGPT, so I like to think of all of these different tools as being tools in my toolbox. And they all do something
Interesting.
a little bit different,
Uh-huh.
right? So depending on what the project is, I've got a toolbox full of different tools. Now ChatGPT is like my Swiss Army knife. It does
Interesting.
kind of a little bit of everything.
Okay.
But if I really need to write a really intense document, for example, or a play or a book or something like that,
Yes.
I'm probably going to use Claude because it tends to be a better writer than ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT will help you get the job done.
Okay.
But if you need something that goes a little bit deeper
Okay.
and gives you a little bit more research, right? So I just have to look in my toolbox and decide which tool is going
Which
to work
tool
the
is
best.
going to be best?
And do they have a cost to these?
They do.
programs.
So it's very expensive to run these models. They are trying to keep it very inexpensive, but most of these large language models are going to run about $20 a month.
Okay.
So and you could quickly rack up, if you
A few $100s.
subscribe to all of them, you
Yes.
could easily spend $100 a month. But $20 a month, play with all of them. I think they all have a free trial version you can try. So play with them, figure out which one is the best for you. But I would say invest $20 in one of them, right? $20 is a few cups of coffee a month. If you have to pick and choose, forgo the cup of coffee and invest in this software and just play with it. You don't have to learn the whole thing. I still don't know the whole thing, but just play. And I'm telling you, it'll be the best $20 you'll ever spend.
So Kellye, while we're here, if there's somebody within our audience or people that are sitting here today, how would they get a hold of you if you're going to have a session where you're going to be teaching AI or a company that needs your wonderful mind to come in and help them? How would they get in touch with you, or do you do that? Do you go out and work with
Absolutely.
Collins, do you give classes? Will
I
you tell us a
do.
little bit about all this? Because you got 1, 2, 3 of us ready to enroll.
3 new students, I hope.
And I think we have a whole bunch out there looking at it.
Sure. So my company again is SourceKamp. My last name is Kamp with a K, Kamp. So it's www.sourcekamp.com is my website. You can also reach me via email at info@sourcekamp. And either way will come directly to me, and I'm very quick to return those messages. So I would love for all of you to reach out.
Yes.
Come to the next seminar or webinar that
I
I'm
would
doing.
love to.
I also do private coaching, and if you have a business that you're understanding that we've got to jump on the bandwagon
Yeah.
and we got to get on the track and start
Absolutely.
this race, that is really a big part of my business, is just helping companies learn what they need with AI. Again, it starts with solving the problem first,
Right, exactly.
and then I can help navigate which direction you need to take, lay out a roadmap for you, help you get on board with using generative AI, and just start to make business fun again.
You're listening to Alexandra and Friends. We really appreciate you tuning in, because these are the people these are our guests that we bring. We bring talent, we bring fun, we bring,
Yes.
sometimes we wonder why we brought them, but
Love,
it's
life,
all
health,
exciting.
wealth.
But it's a
Yes.
lot of fun. So our topics are life, health, wealth, and love. But one of the biggest things that we do is we give the voice to our guests to bring information, which is very important. And I think these are the great things. So if you're going to subscribe to Alexandra and Friends, give us
Yes.
a good review and let us know. And also, her information will be on alexandrafriends.com and on YouTube. So make yourselves comfortable on being able to take a look at what we're offering, because this is free information. And I've learned so much today. And, really, I was a little scared, because not scared of itself, but God is very important to me. And I just don't want a system to replace God.
100%.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'm Jewish, and I am very proud of it, and I go by the Torah, and I kept thinking, oh my gosh, if my rabbis would ever do this and change our Torah. So this is something in my mind. Does it replace some of your thoughts? Does it replace? So I'm lazy this morning. I want you to write a book for me, and I said, write a book. Is that what's going to happen?
No, because you're not going to get good output if you just say write a book,
Okay.
right? Think of it as having the world's smartest intern at your disposal.
We do.
Research.
And yes, we
Right
do.
here, he's producing our show.
But if you ask your intern, I need an annual report for my business,
Yeah.
and the intern's going to go out and bring you back the data, are you going to hand that directly to the CEO? Or are you going to review it and make sure the data is correct and it's following the direction that you want, and you're probably going to have some revisions and some changes? That is how you need to interact with generative AI, is you just become the creative director. It does the heavy lifting,
like
but you
that.
still need to be the human in the loop.
Got you. So it would
You're
take
the
care
s-
of my
yes.
property and loss reports for
Correct.
the end of the year for
Your
taxes.
budgets.
Correct. It can do
It'll
the
do my
heavy.
budget.
Yes, it can do the heavy lifting for you,
Yes.
but you still need to review
Yeah, I still got to
that.
input and
And
review.
input.
And
Correct.
edit.
Yes.
You're like the CEO of that company,
Yes.
and you're directing the AI as someone doing all the research and the writing for you, and you can make changes.
Make
to it.
changes.
That's right.
So if you have let's say a music writer, they can
Yeah, like
use
me.
like let's talk. She writes music, so she can actually work a lot with AI on this.
100%.
Isn't that amazing?
that something?
Because the reason why I feel like that is like, that would be challenging for me,
Sure.
because, well, it may be right, but that's not the way I want to deliver it.
Well, you
So
love the
how would you think-
process, right? You love
Yes,
the creative
I
process.
love the creative process.
And it's not taking away your creative process because you're in control.
unbelievable.
But let's say you had 3 different ideas for a song.
Yes.
And you're
that.
looking at a blank piece of paper and you've got writer's block.
Oh, that happens in the book all the time.
Okay, so now you can say, I have these 3 ideas. Here are my ideas. I need a little help just fleshing them out.
That's so good.
Could you give me 10 chapters for this book
Oh,
that
gosh. That's
based on this direction?
that's amazing.
Then it's going to give you 10 chapter
Oh,
titles.
that is amazing.
But here's the beauty. You can look at those and say, I only like 2 of those.
Okay. And reword it for yourself, right?
Rewrite the other 8. And so
Interesting.
you're still controlling that creative process, but you're not just staring at a blank piece of paper. You're just having a little assistance
Yes.
in fleshing out your own ideas.
You're feeding ideas, your input.
They're
then
your
the output
ideas.
So I can
comes
still
out.
put it in there, right?
Yes.
And then I can still input my information.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
guess what? If you
And-
don't do that, nothing exists,
Interesting.
Absolutely.
right?
So,
Absolutely.
So if she's writing a song, she inputs her words in there, and
And then it gives me better
It
content
gives a better
of that
contact.
word or what I'm trying to say.
Sure, you can say, here's the idea that I'm trying to generate, but I don't know a word that rhymes with so and so, or can you just help me
Give me
convey
another
the
word.
message?
That's right. Convey. That's right.
And it can just say
I
it in a
love
different
that.
way for you.
oh my goodness,
that.
that is
Because you get stuck. I mean, it's terrible.
Can
You know?
can it arrange music for you, or it's not there yet? It's just more language.
There are programs out there that are specific to music. And again, they can do the
I don't know if I-
process for you, but most people don't like that. Most of
No.
us as humans, we enjoy that
yes,
creative
yeah.
process.
yes.
that's
Yes,
that's
right.
very important.
Yes.
Yes.
But here's the beauty: you're in charge.
Okay.
You can use it as
I like
little
that,
or
Kellye.
as much as you want to.
Absolutely.
So you adopt it or you let it go.
Correct. Up to you.
It's up to you. That's interesting. Gosh, there's some people. We got a group of people sitting here, and I'm going to take advantage of this, and I'm going to. Would you like to ask a question to? There's some people that came here just because of you.
Sure, I would
Would
love
you
to.
like to
that's
ask a question to
awesome.
somebody and see they have?
Yes.
Of course.
There's Paul over
We have
there.
lots of questions.
Paul,
Hi, Paul.
So explain to us.
could you just stand up a little bit so we can hear you?
Explain to us how AI learns.
Wow.
Very good question.
I am not a part of the corporations that are building those models, but I can tell you that it's taking collective knowledge. So anything that's been put out on the internet, it's collecting all of that knowledge and it's coming up with the collective answer, right? So this is a great way I like to explain this. Remember the game show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yes.
Oh yes.
Okay, you could phone a friend or you could ask the audience, right? Or you could just guess yourself. Most people would start with asking the audience because the collective knowledge is going to be greater than that individual friend,
Absolutely.
right? However, with generative AI, you need to take it a few steps further because let's just say I have a kidney disease, right? And I'm going to ask the audience. I've been to all these doctors and nobody can diagnose me. So help me come up with some ideas to solve this kidney disease. Well, I'm going to get collectively probably some good ideas about what to try, but do I trust those with my life? Probably not. So I need to narrow my question. And this is the secret to working with generative AI is get very specific about your questions. So now I'm going to say, I only want to ask the doctors in the audience. You're like, okay, now I'm going to get an answer. However, there could be a physician, there could be a chiropractor, there
Yeah.
could be a doctor of literature,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I've got to get more specific. So fast forward, I'm going to say I only want to ask the medical physicians in the audience who have experience with kidney disease, and I want those people to only go to the top universities, medical universities in the country, and from those people, I only want those who graduated in the top 1% of their class.
Interesting.
Because I didn't just use 5 to 10 words
Okay.
to prompt what I want, like we do with Google. We've been trained to do that. It's more of a conversation. Like I need to tell the large language model exactly what I want in a conversation, and then the input that I'm going to get is going to be much, much greater. And now it's going to be something I can probably trust rather than just asking a generic question. So that's the way it's trained. It's taking collective knowledge. So the knowledge is there, but it's up to us to know how to funnel that question to get to the right answer.
So it doesn't generate its own idea.
No, sir. No, sir.
Actually coming from human beings.
Absolutely. But the other side of that is there can be a little bit of bias, right? Because we're all biased. We all come to the table with our own bias. So again, it takes that human in the loop to use your own judgment and discernment
Yes.
to say, is this the right answer for
For
me?
me. Exactly.
Yes.
So I see that doctors are starting to use it in their daily life.
Yes.
Would this help a lot on cancer, looking at cancer or Alzheimer's, looking at all this? What do you think about this for the doctors as they move in the
I think
future?
it's fantastic because as humans, we're not infallible. I mean, we all have, again, our own biases. We make mistakes.
Yes.
We misread diagnoses. We, may come with our own emotional attachment to that disease or that diagnosis. And so that's just humanity, right? We're not going to change that. But that's the good and the bad, depending on how you use the tool of these large language models, is they're not emotional, right? They're just going to give you the facts for better or for worse. And it's not that they can't occasionally make a mistake, but they're getting really, really good. So, for example, I've heard many times where doctors are reading x-rays and they may miss a diagnosis, but they're feeding it into the generative AI, and the AI can analyze a photo like the best physician in the world, and it may catch things that human may not catch. So again, it's just how you're using the tool, and we have to learn to be responsible with how we're using it, for sure. Does that help?
Does that help, Paul?
Okay.
Wow. Do we have anybody else? Yes, sir.
One's a comment regarding the music and a question. Chris Christopherson has a song whose title escapes me. But in it, he takes directly from The Grapes of Wrath dialogue between three people, and he fashions an entire song.
Okay.
Wow.
Three people.
Those three people's dialogue. And it's a beautiful song. So I completely get what you're saying regarding music benefit. I'm curious, though. I read a book about a decade ago called Radical Evolution. Evolution, not revolution. Radical Evolution. And AI is one of the things mentioned. And what it talked about was there are three different kinds of people that will use AI as well as all of the other innovations at the time being discussed. One is the good guy, as they refer to them as good guys, that are going to do good. Then there's one that will use it only as a tool, not to foster good or bad, but to simply report out outcomes. And three is the bad guy. And the question posed on each one of these innovations was, what if an Adolf Hitler got a hold of this technology? What would he do with it? And I'm curious, with tens of thousands of employees now being fired, and AI is supposedly the answer to this. They're going to put AI in to do the work.
But it's
Where's
not.
the production?
But it's not.
Well, how does AI actually produce? I understand how AI can write a book, help you write songs. I understand all the tool aspect of it. But regarding which one of the three guys, good, indifferent, bad, when they get a hold of it, how does it produce something that is tangible or at least observable and impacting on people?
Sure.
Yeah,
So
good
that's
question.
a
Good
great
question. Good
question. And privacy and security and using the tool properly is a big concern. And there's no hard, fast answer right now. We're learning as we go because the technology changes all the time. But I would liken this technology, large language models, similar to the internet, right? The internet can be used for so much good.
True.
However, there are some very heinous things that the internet is being used for. That doesn't mean that the majority of people are going to use that tool in that way. So the world does have evil in it, and there's no way we can really prevent that. We can try to stop it, but there's always going to be those few that are going to try to use it for malice instead of good. I will say that many of these large language models that are available to the general public that we would know about, the ones that we mentioned, do have guardrails built into them for that very reason. So it will not let you upload certain things. It will not let you ask certain questions. So anything that has to do with medical, like if you just said cure this, it's going to say we can't do that because they don't want the liability. Right?
Okay.
It does not, it will not address mental health issues. Like it won't give you a diagnosis. It won't give you financial advice. So those basic things that could be detrimental to a human, it's already built in, the guardrails are already built in to say, can't do that. If I asked it to create a device that could cause mass destruction, it's going to say, that's against our policy guidelines.
Universally built in, or is that?
Yes. Most of the tools that the public is using, they are built in that way. There are some certain programs that are called open source, kind of like Wikipedia, where anybody can contribute. And you might be able to get around some of those guardrails, but I personally choose not to use open source products. But again, there are people that are watching for those inputs and prompts. So
So if somebody was
there is some guardrails.
playing poker,
Oh.
and they go, "What my next play should be?" Would ChatGPT help them?
Possibly.
Let's go to Winstore.
Possibly. But again, it depends on the model and it depends on the guardrails that are built in. And I personally have not tried that.
Okay.
Well-
So I can't really speak specifically to that.
Interesting.
But yes, there are, I mean, at some point it would probably say, I can't really do that for you.
Scrabble. We're playing Scrabble. Hey, what's the word?
Now, it might give you some words you could use.
Yes, okay.
Right?
All the letters
Okay.
would start with
That's
an A.
right. Right.
But you truly just function, SourceKamp, your company just truly function reference to the business that you consult. Am I correct? Okay, good. So what you find with, within your business that you help, what's the challenges that you feel like to make that you guys have as a team to make sure everybody is understanding
Sure.
and agreeing to what you bring to the table?
Of course. Well, I do have a certain process that I go through. I start
Okay.
with a general questionnaire, a
Thank
discovery
you.
questionnaire. So it's pretty long, it's pretty lengthy, but I'd like to do it interview style so it doesn't feel so painful to
I
go
love that.
through. But I find out all kinds of information about their company before I start because I have to know
Right.
who they are
they
before I can help them solve a problem, right? Kind of like a doctor.
Yeah,
Can't diagnose you
right.
till I know what the issue is.
that's right.
So we start there, and generally it's pretty, the way my questions are built is it becomes fairly obvious fairly quickly what their main pain points are, but oftentimes we uncover things that they didn't realize were pain
bet.
points.
Yeah.
I say it's kind of like having, let's say been a stack of books in the middle of your living room for 10 years and you've kind of gotten used to just stepping over it where you don't see it anymore. And I am the one that comes and says, there's a stack of books there. Instead of you walking around it or stepping over it every day, let's just eliminate that and make your path a little quicker. So that's what I'm doing for businesses essentially, is just uncovering things that maybe are painful, but they've just gotten used to.
Okay.
And so that offers instant relief.
Wow.
Now, that also gives them a little insight into how a large language model can actually help their business. I like to give them quick wins for their
Love it.
first project, kind of a proof of concept project. So it's painless, it's not going to affect customer base, it's usually internal processes, so it's very low risk. And then once we get through that first process, then the wheels start turning and they go, oh, I can think of 15 other challenges that I could use
good.
help with.
So you can set up measurable progress.
Progress.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. It has to be measurable.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It looks like we're coming to the end of an exciting morning. We've got just a few minutes left.
come
So,
back.
gosh, we really would love to have chapter
Please
number
come
2 come back
Yes.
again. Wow.
This was
I have a fun
amazing.
question.
Yes.
Can I ask a fun question?
Please.
Yeah.
I know that Kellye loves to travel outside of living and breathing AI. Yes, she
That's a
loves
good
to
thing.
travel. So, what is your favorite place that you've ever been and why?
Actually, I love the beach. I love warm weather. That's
Yes.
where I always want to go. But I have to say, I took a cruise to Alaska.
Oh,
Okay.
It was my absolute favorite.
Mine too.
Just the
Mine too.
beauty and the expanse of it. And the people were so lovely.
Wonderful.
And just being in that kind of nature that's completely untouched
untouched.
just really touched my heart.
that.
Wow.
And it changed me.
Okay.
I love
Bucket
that.
list for many people, right?
Yes.
Yes, that is so. So, can you go into AI and say, what is the best place to go to, and it kind of gives you some
Yes.
ideas.
So again, I live and
love
breathe
that.
AI. So the last trip that we took with my family, we were in a brand new place in a foreign country we'd never been before. And we're touring the town, and I went, oh, wait a minute, I can use my AI.
I can use my
So there's
AI.
actually a feature within ChatGPT where it has a video and a voice.
Okay.
So it can
Wow.
see on your phone what you see, and it can talk to you, and you can interact with it.
Oh,
So as we're
that's
walking down the
awesome.
street, I pointed to a building and a street sign and kind of gave it a little,
Yeah.
a swipe with my camera. I said, can you tell where we are? And it was able to analyze my photo and tell us where we were.
wow.
Wow.
And then I said, now we need a walking tour guide. So can you give us a tour as we're walking through the city? And it did. It told us all the historical information. It told us that all of the yellow buildings that we kept seeing were all government buildings, which we didn't know before.
In English.
In English,
Wow.
but it can speak any language.
Any language.
It can translate to any language. So it really is like a personal assistant that is with you all the time.
Wow.
No, I do like that. I like that.
Well, I think we're going to start wrapping it up. I see our producer going like this, and now he's going to go like this. Thank you so much for tuning in again. We're excited. Wow, this has been an exciting
was
show.
so
We've learned
good.
so much. We definitely would like to have you come back again.
I would love that.
This has been
yes.
interesting. I still, worry about things taking over our life, and that's important to me.
Of course.
And I want to make sure that nothing replaces our God
Correct.
or our life in
That's
a
right.
sense. So I really appreciate. I've learned so much about you, but we'd love for you to let us know when is your next class, so
Yeah.
that we can join you.
Yes.
And of course, we get a discount, right?
Of course.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Kelly is
you
so
know.
sweet.
Well, I mean, we gotta talk
Have to
business all the time. We got the ROI.
That's right.
So we're
That's right.
excited. So we want to thank you so much for being here, and I think a lot of our guests probably understand a little bit more of what AI is about. I do, and I think these are the shows that we love to produce and bring on board. I want to just bring one subject, please. Important. March is the month of paying attention to cancer. March is
Yeah.
colon cancer has become one of the biggest death warrants for people. So take AI on yourself and take care of yourself and try and get a checkup, because I'm just recovering from cancer, so I can tell you it's a very difficult trend of going
Yes.
through. And I was just reading that colon cancer is one of the biggest killers of men and women, especially men. So take a little AI time and take care of yourself. So I want to thank you so much for being here again. Find us on alexandraandfriends.com. We're on YouTube and on Facebook. We'd love to get your feedback, and we really appreciate it. Before we end the day, we do with two things that we do on our show is the Pledge of Allegiance, and we also do our prayer for the end of the day. So we're going to go ahead and do those at the very end. So we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we're going to have Ms. Marshall Johnson take us out with our morning prayer. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That is by the Clark family.
All right. Again, thank you for the audience we had who came in today. It's wonderful to see you. Thank you for supporting Alexandra and Friends. Let's bow our heads. Father God, in the name of Jesus, how we thank you for this awesome podcast. Thank you for Purple Cow branding. Thank you for where you're taking the podcast. Thank you for the staff. Thank you for the producers. Thank you for the hosts, and thank you for the co-hosts. And thank you for our wonderful guests. God, continue to bless us, watch over us, and keep us. We love you and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Shalom,
Amen.
shalom.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.